Well, welcome back. This is Teacher Talks, and I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. So, if you don't know, I run a consulting company called Fully Engaged. Fully Engaged is an education and resource based company that primarily provides supports and resources to Title I schools, which serve low impoverished Black and Brown students across this country, especially here in the Southeast. So, Fully Engaged is more than just a company, but we are also advocates for student achievement and student success, as well as teacher and leader effectiveness. So, a way to extend that we thought would be to start Teacher Talks, which is a safe space for people to come and talk about educational issues and just any issues related to what our students and our parents may go through on a daily basis. So, Teacher Talk is just that it's a safe space, but it's also a fun space to be. We try to have a very good time here. So, I normally come on every Thursday live at 9 o'clock. Today, unfortunately, I am not live. So what you are watching is a pre-recorded video because I have something that I have to do this evening, so I can't come live. But you can still get in the comment sections or in the comment section of YouTube, the comment section of Facebook, or the comment section of Periscope and chat. And I will be in the section this evening chatting with you if you want to have some dialogue with me or anybody else who's available. So what are we talking about tonight? Well, first of all, I normally say it's 9 o'clock somewhere. So I normally have coffee or tea, and I say that it's 9 o'clock. I hope that the kids are down because it's time for the adults to catch up. Well, it's not 9 o'clock. It's actually 2 o'clock. So I just have some juice in my handy dandy cup that my line brother Marcus gave me. Shout out to all the noobs, yo. And so just have something to drink or a beverage somewhere. If you think it's 5 o'clock somewhere, do what you need to do and do your 5 o'clock thing. I'm not judging you, okay? Because it's almost Friday. But today, what are we talking about? I felt like we needed to have a conversation about what are students learning during the pandemic. Okay? So that's the driving question. What are students learning during the pandemic? And if I phrased it differently and asked the question, what are students really learning during the pandemic? Then you may provide me with a different answer. So I want you to ponder that question or those two questions for a few seconds as I kind of give you a backdrop of why I thought it would be important to talk about this. So, of course, like I said, I work with schools across the state here in the South, and I have found it very challenging to motivate teachers and motivate leaders because they are up against many roadblocks. Their backs are up against many walls, and they face many challenges in trying to provide a high quality education that's equitable for all of their students. Because we are in the homes and we don't have control when students are not with us. But our responsibilities to educate are still the same. And that has been very, very, very arduous right now for those in education. And it's not just classroom teachers, it's for everybody from central office workers to school leadership, to those even on school boards who have to make the tough decisions on whether students come back face to face, if they stay at home and continue to learn virtually, or if they are involved in some type of hybrid model. These are very difficult decisions because the most important thing is that our students are safe. The second most important thing is that they are provided an opportunity to learn and be educated. And that is not easy. It's not easy at all. So I thought to myself, there are many things that we're learning as educators as we go through this pandemic that we've never had to learn before. We're doing things we've never done before. We're doing things in a very non-traditional way, which may now become more conventional in the world of education. Which I always say this has changed the way we do things from this point forward. I think we'll see a lot more options for students to work from home virtually, and they don't have to be face to face, but still be enrolled in a school, but not be in an online program, right? But I don't think we always talk about what this is teaching students in a positive way. I know we've talked about the social emotional impacts that this pandemic has had on students, and the lack of socialization that they don't have with their peers. But there may be some positive aspects of the pandemic that we have not thought about that our students are benefiting from. And one of the things that comes to mind is that this pandemic is teaching our students how to be resilient. I think many times our students aren't faced with many challenges in their age group, And this pandemic has taught them a level of resilience that I don't think many of them have ever experienced before. And I think that's a good thing. I think oftentimes our kids have been provided many things. They have been given opportunities. They have been given second, third, fourth, fifth chances. And they have not been taught this character of resiliency during the last 10 to 20 years. This has definitely done this for them. I think they really needed it. I think the isolation and separation has created that space, and it has been tough. But in the tough times is when you really see who people are or who they can be. And I think our students have seen themselves being things they've never dreamed of, never even saw or envisioned that they could be or do, making it through a tough time like this. You know, they never thought they could do this. They never thought they could be at home for this long period of time and not have killed their mom or their dad or their little brother or sister. But you guys have made it. They have made it. They are resilient. They have built up stamina, character that they didn't know they had or didn't know that they needed during a time like this. So this is a great thing for our students. I think it has also taught our students the idea of patience. Everything they want is not necessarily at their fingertips when it comes to education. Yeah, you can get on Instagram and you can get on Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter and all those things. That type of access is there. But in terms of learning all the time as is expected by state standards is not necessarily at your fingertips. It has to come at a cost, and that cost a lot of times is being patient because teachers are having to work with all of their students in many cases online. And so you can't get your questions answered immediately. You can't get your paper graded with feedback immediately. You can't have her attention at your fingertips or at your discretion immediately. You have to be patient in order for us to provide you with what you need in a timely manner. But it doesn't happen within your time frame anymore. Even at home, there are very many challenges from work to not working at all that's impacting the home income. That there are things that you can't get that you used to get all the time. You can't get it right away. You have to be patient. So I think that is another great attribute that the pandemic has taught our students. I think it's also taught them a high level of confidence about who they are and believing in themselves. Now, granted, there is a whole nother spectrum of students who are challenged with being isolated and feeling lonely and alone during this pandemic. But there are some students and some young adults who have built up a new level of confidence. They've almost found themselves, found their purpose, found their gifts, found their talents during the pandemic. And I think those are things that we as teachers, as well as parents, need to foster in our children, and we need to enhance those things that they believe are positive and capabilities to change the world, right? To change who they are, to change who they can become, and change the people around them. The other thing I think is taught them, besides the idea of confidence, is the belief that sometimes separation is good. I think that not being in school has really eliminated some bullying for some of our students. And for the rest of those students, they have had some friends that may not need to necessarily be in their corner. And because they're not in a face-to-face environment, they don't see these people on a regular basis. And therefore, they're not influenced by their actions or their words. There is not this idea or this need to please your peers. So this has been good. So separation has created space for me to be me, and I don't need you to validate who I am, what I am, and the way I believe because you're not in my presence, right? I think that's a positive thing. And if you're just coming in, what I'm talking about, what are the positive aspects? The positive aspects that our students are learning through this pandemic. We know of the many negative aspects, but we don't oftentimes talk about those positive things that are building up our students in new ways, in different ways, in positive ways because of being in a pandemic situation as they learn. So Yeah, that separation has been great for many students. I don't think we realize how many students are bullied on a daily basis, or they go to school with the idea of they have to look a certain way, they have to dress a certain way, they have to sound a certain way, they have to be involved in certain groups just to be accepted. And when you're not in school, there is not that fear, there is not that pressure, that stressor to do things in such a perfect way to meet the expectations of someone else. It doesn't exist. All I have to do is just see you when I log in on that computer for that short period of time, and then I literally log off, and I don't have to be in your presence and feel stressed or pressured by your expectations of me. Because I've learned during this time that I'm simply enough. As a student, as a person, as a friend, as a child, I'm simply enough. And what I contribute, what I bring into the space of the world is enough to make a difference. And so I think that's awesome. I feel like students may come back to school with a new sense of who they are, a new identity. And I think that is a tremendous positive impact on them, but also on the school environment. If students come back with this level of confidence and positivity and this level of resiliency, imagine how that translates into student achievement, how that translates into performance, how that translates into practice, how that translates into transparency about their understanding and where they are, and to ensure you that they will hold themselves accountable for mastery of standards and hold you accountable in supporting you as a teacher, as a leader, and the work that you're called to do for them, right? We talk about this community, this collaboration between the students and the teachers, the parents and the home. This may be the thing, because one other thing is that's positive, not so much for the students, but for the parents. Parents understand how important the job of teachers are today, and they understand and they respect what you do. But they also understand they need to be more involved, because when the child came home and the responsibility of learning fell on the parents, they realize I have not really been up to date, in tune with what's going on in my child's school, and I need to do a better job. And that's a positive thing. Parent involvement, community engagement only benefits students. It only benefits students. This increased level of responsibility and this community support wrapped around the child can only support them in the belief that learning is valuable and that they can learn. I truly believe that. I advocate for that, and I support that aspect of the pandemic. Now, we cannot forget many of the other things that are happening. We have students that are not learning because many schools and school districts have not prepared, and the technology is not available. So some of our students feel inept, but the motivation and the desire to learn is still burning deep within them. And that's a positive thing, that they still desire and they're motivated to learn. That's great. We just have to get them what they need so they can be effective, or they can be a part of that learning community. The second thing is, I think our students realize that for those that don't have technology or they don't have the resources, that they haven't been treated fairly, and they have been given the short end of a quality education. And not only do they have a fire inside of them, but they also have a fight. And I think that's amazing. When you have a student who is willing to not wait on somebody to fight for them, but they're willing to fight for themselves, that's going to change the game. It's going to change the game in education. And we have some students now who are fighting. We've seen them in the streets, right, during the pandemic. They're protesting, they're making their voices heard, they're making their stance strong, and they're making it visible. We want that to translate right into the schools. We want it to translate right into the schools. If you have to march outside of your school to ensure you have what you need, I would love to see that. If you have to march in their hallways and walk out to fight to ensure that you have what you need, I support that. Parents, if you have to march around the building and call the news stations to ensure your child has what they need, I support that. That's a positive thing. We've got to continue to fight for ourselves and fight for your students. And that's great. And so in this midst of a pandemic, I think there are many positive things that have come out of it as it relates to our students, in addition to all the negative challenges that they currently face. But I think it can only make the system better for every child. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is a short one, only 15 minutes. But get in the comment sections. I'll be in the comment sections chatting with you. Until next time, like I always say, be blessed and be safe. See you next time.